Welcome in, guys. We are here today with our second musician. You can tell that because he's got a keyboard and guitars in the background. But another football lover, because he's also, well, I say footballer, he's got a Newcastle shirt on. We've just been briefly chatting about how football is a dubious subject at the moment, but we all know that because Steve Bruce is in charge. So, you got to run with it. Tom Didsbury, T Dids, on Twitch. Welcome in, Tom. It's a pleasure to have you here, my friend. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good. So for regular viewers, obviously everyone knows the concept. It's the 5 questions, and the 5th question is the big 5. We will go through that as per usual with Tom and get his take on football and where that love originally came from. So we'll start with the most obvious question, which is question number 1. The first real memory of football. So, Tom, what was your first real memory of football?
Well, I had to have a really good think about this because I live near Peterborough in Lincolnshire, and my team's obviously Newcastle, so I'm miles away from my team and miles away from a Premier League game. So we didn't really get to see many games. So unless you want to watch, well, I was going to say football in air quotes.
Yeah.
Peterborough, the posh. It's not really a brand of football that you want to spend your Saturdays watching. So me and my dad would listen to the radio, and we would have the teletext live scores on. So that's my first football memory, is pressing the refresh button on your remote just to see if there's been an update on the goals, and hopefully seeing the correct score on Newcastle side.
Yeah, trying to beat the radio, essentially.
Update, yes, trying
to beat the commentators telling you. You go, yeah, it's 1-0, and then they'd come on, and there's been a goal. Yeah, I know.
We're ahead of you, mate, and I've also booked my holiday at the same time.
Good old teletext holidays, yeah. I've booked a holiday, 399 quid, yeah. Unfortunately, that one's gone. It's 700. Oh.
That's the one.
Yeah, I used to love, I'll be honest, I am business studies at school. I was 96, I was doing my GCSEs, and teletext was still CFAX, and teletext was still the way that you could keep up on all the football news and things like that. And I remember spending big chunks when we were meant to be we were doing projects on like stocks and shares, and I was on channel 401, which was the football stuff. And I'm not going to lie, didn't do so well. I think I got a D.
That's a pass, isn't it?
It's a pass. And I'm pretty impressed because none of the questions were related to CFAX or teletext football. So, because if that had been it, I would have smashed it out of the park. So first real memory, listening to the radio and the results coming in, and then checking out the results on the refresh. So was Dad a Newcastle fan?
Yes, born and bred at Newcastle, so that's where I didn't really have a choice.
Fair enough. I've got a number of family who live in Peterborough, and I remember quite a few years ago, one of them saying, if Peterborough go out there rubbish, if they go up, I'll buy a season ticket next year. And they went up, and he never bought a season ticket, so he owes Peterborough about 400 quid. But yes, cool. Okay, so number 2. What was your first international tournament that you remember? And what was it that you remember most vividly?
Well, I'm going to show my age here, aren't I, in this one? Well, I guess my first major tournament I remember is France 98. Because that was I was born in 92. Apologies.
Okay. Apologies to me, because that makes me feel even older again. But yeah, carry on.
So that was my first World Cup that I've got memory of. But I mean, I was quite young. So I do remember the final. I remember Roberto Carlos's goal. But to be honest, my most vivid memory is of Euro 96.
Sorry, did you say what? Roberto Carlos's goal, France 98?
Was that was that the France?
No,
98?
that was the Le Tournoi. What, the free kick was Le Tournoi. It was the build up to the World Cup. Yeah.
Oh right, okay. Well, I still remember watching that somehow. So.
So there you go. First major tournament was Le Tournoi.
Well, there you go.
The build
every
up.
day's a school day.
What a free kick! Yeah, because France beat the final was Brazil-France, but it was when Ronaldo had his seizures the day before. And then Zidane turned up for the final and scored 2, and they won 3-0, I think. And Ronaldo was just not even with it. But Nike made him play, allegedly. But yeah,
wonderful.
But I tell you what, if Le Tournoi is what you remember, what a way to remember it! What a free kick!
Good one. Well, I was quite young, but yeah, that's what I remember watching first. But I had the Euro '96 highlights on VHS.
Yes.
So, as an only child, what more can you do other than put in a VHS and watch it all and rewind it back to the beginning again?
Yeah.
So actually, I can remember more about Euro '96 than probably most of the major tournaments up to 2006.
Yeah, and do you know what? You're not the only person. The amount of people we spoke to, and they say, "Well, I think this is the first one I remember, but I don't know how much of it I remember from the original and how much of it I remember from reruns and things I've seen and snippets since."
That's it. Yeah.
So, but yeah, Euro '96. What was the standout? What from watching all of that? What's the thing that stands out most for you?
As a Newcastle fan, it has to be the Netherlands game. You know, Shearer, was it 2 goals? He set up Sheringham's as well.
Yeah, they were deadly in that game. Yeah,
it's the one where Shearer, he goes to shoot and then just side foots it. Was it Sheringham and then leathers it home?
Yeah, Sheringham goes to shoot and then just actually rolls it across, and Shearer lashes it home. Yeah,
that way. Yeah,
absolutely belt. And then just to upset people, we let Kluivert score, a future Newcastle player.
Yes, quite right.
Just so that Scotland couldn't qualify.
So it's a good decision. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. Endear him a little bit, endear Kluivert to the English fans about 8 years before he then signs for Newcastle.
Was it the only thing I remember about Kluivert is he scored an own goal against Chelsea? I think that's the only thing I can remember him doing.
I mean, he didn't score loads of goals. I think he was only there for a year and he scored about 8 or 9 goals, but that was about it.
Marquee signing.
Yeah, exactly. But synonymous for knocking Scotland out of the Euro '96. Love it.
It's a great tournament. I mean, I could name you Davor Suker's chip against Denmark, but I can't remember what I did yesterday because I remember.
Karol Poborski.
With Poborski, was it not Suker?
Yeah, it was, no. It was one country, Tom.
Was it? I was thinking of the Croatia Denmark. Was it not?
No. It was Czech Republic Denmark.
Over Schmeichel.
Yeah, and he went through and he completely skipped to Karol Poborski. To be fair, Suker in '98 was amazing for Croatia.
Yeah, okay.
And he scored he scored a few absolute beauts in there. And there may have been they may have played Denmark in '98, and that may have happened. But yeah, '96 was Karol Poborski. Yeah, 96 was Karol Poborski because that chip got him a move to Manchester United, where he was then very, very rubbish.
Bit like Kluivert then.
Well, yeah, but Kluivert got moves to Newcastle, Barcelona, AC Milan. Poborski went to Man United, and then I don't know where he went after that. I think someone said I vague recollections of him rocking up in Lazio and never playing. But cool. Okay, so first international tournament you remember vaguely is '98. But actually, from visuals and watching stuff, the one you've got the most vivid memories of is '96.
Absolutely,
Euro '96. Yeah. Perfect. Cool. Okay. So, question number 3. When you played, what was your position?
So I played football sort of around the age of maybe 14 to 18. Didn't play. I wasn't like one of these kids who played from age 4. And have never stopped. You know, I sort of played for about sort of 4 or 5 years in my teens, and I was always in centre midfield and probably more like a central defensive player. I was quite shy when I was a young kid, so I never wanted to be the one who had the final product. You know,
Yeah.
I was. I'm trying to think of a professional football equivalent, maybe like a Michael Carrick or
Yeah.
a Jordan Henderson. I always passed it sideways.
Yeah. David
so,
Batty, old school David Batty. There we go.
and a living player.
Yeah.
But my job was to tackle, and it was to
Yeah.
win headers. That was it, and that's what I did. And actually, I have to say, I did it quite well. If the opponent had a goal kick, didn't matter where I was on the pitch, I was sprinting after that goal kick, and I was going to move anyone out of the way to head the ball, and that was my job.
Nice, I like that.
We weren't a pretty team, but we did well. We sort of went from sort of like under 15s losing most of the games to under 18s when we won every single game. So it was a really good journey. Our manager did quite a good job.
But that's the thing, though. You don't need to be the best players. You need to be the most effective players.
Yes, agreed.
And this is and this is something I've always said. I was good. I never realised how good I was because I was quick. So all that used to happen was the ball was knocked for me to chase after.
Right. Yep.
One of my brothers is quick as well, but football's evolved. He's 7 years younger than me, so football had evolved a little bit. He is technically and has been a better footballer than me, but his output is nowhere near the level because he's not as effective. Because the expectation is that he does more now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
and you end up with, like you were saying, if your job is there and you're there to win the ball and win the header, and that is solely your job, it's easy for you to manage that job.
That's it. Yeah,
and it makes you effective. Yeah, it makes you effective. So long as you can then play a 5-yard pass to someone else to then move the ball on, then it works.
That's all I had to do. The game was always in front of me, so I found that easier as well.
Yeah.
And anything that sort of came into a corner and got cleared, then my other job was just to hammer it. Didn't matter if it hit the corner flag or if it went in the goal. Manager didn't care. Just hit it.
Yeah, get it back out so that it's not going up the other end again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Worked.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And sometimes, people moan about people like Sam Allardyce and things like that and long ball football, but actually it's not. You play football at the back can cause you problems if you don't have the players to do it. So you play football at the front.
Yeah, exactly. You play to the players that you have, not the players that you wish you had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trying to mould, I don't know, I'm trying to think of I don't even know the players at West Brom, defenders and that, but trying to mould them into footballing centre-backs, you're relegated before you were relegated.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing. You just building that structure and, that's a great thing. And actually, I think there are a lot of players nowadays who don't appreciate that. And
I think there's still a space for that in the game, in the modern game. Because we don't see a lot of it because everyone tries to copy everyone else. As soon as someone works, remember like Conte used the 5 at the back with Chelsea, and suddenly next season everyone was using 5 at the back with wing backs.
Yeah.
And same with the 4-3-3 now. Everyone's copying everyone else. Whereas if you actually stick to your guns, I feel like there's still a space for a Vinnie Jones character or a Sanchez manager in the modern game, and that's what we had at youth football.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing as well. I mean, it frustrates me sometimes as well because you look at. I mean, we got one in the background. We got Roberto Bajie, number 10. But you look at all of the great number 10s, and that became a role that phased out a little bit in the late 90s, early 2000s when teams started to change setup and formation. But you had Zidane, you had Bajie, you then had people like Del Piero and people like that coming in who played in that role. And it was the number 10 role. And then you had someone like Claude Makelele. And he wasn't very good in the air. And he wasn't very good on the ground. And he couldn't pass a ball more than 5 yards. And he was a little bit of a liability when he went in and tackled people. And he didn't score. And he didn't. But the guy, it's the Makelele role. The hell is going on here? Because he just sat in front of the back 4 and covered for them. And he'd give away free kicks where it wasn't dangerous. And he'd do that sort of thing. And, do you know, and as you say, there's still a position in football for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there were people previously to him who done it better. But it was synonymous with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was made synonymous with him with I think Fabio Capello took over at Real Madrid, and Makelele had been released the year before, and he went out and spent 30 million on some guy from France, and the board moaned, and he said, well, I wouldn't have had to spend it if you hadn't have let Makelele go for nothing. And then Chelsea went on a run of winning stuff, and all of a sudden it's his role.
Yeah. You can't think of many players who would do it better or equal.
No. And especially in the modern day, everyone needs to be something a little bit more than just that, essentially a track and whack.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, as you say, definitely space in the game for it still.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, wasn't William Gallas a number 10?
Not. Yeah, he wore number 10, didn't he? I mean, let's be fair. But then that's most of Arsenal's defenders. Most of them can't defend. So you might as well give them a number 9, number 10, number 11, whatever. They're not going to do the defensive side of it, are they? So, brilliant. Okay, so number 4. If you could have done one thing that would have improved your footballing ability, what do you think it would have been?
Well, I guess touching back on the position I did play and why, it would be confidence.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realise when I was at youth football, and certainly at a very young age, sort of around 9, 10, I was really good at football, and I had no idea. Looking back, I was pretty good at football. I got scouted.
Yeah.
But I would never make it in academy, because when the ball came to me, when it came to the big stage, I couldn't do it. I didn't want the responsibility of having that final product. So if I'd had any ounce of self-confidence for my youth football, I could have been I'm not saying I'd have been a professional footballer, far from it, but I could have done something. I could have achieved something with football, definitely. And I noticed that when I went to university, once you mixed with 20,000 other students, you kind of, your confidence shoots up. And I ended up playing up front because that's where I wanted to play. I was like, no, I want to play up front. I got this confidence from somewhere. And then that's where I realized actually I was quick. I could finish. I did have an end product. And you look back and think, God, if I'd had half of that 10 years earlier, I'd be laughing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So, and you're not the first person we've interviewed that had said having that element of confidence as well, because it is such a big thing. It is such a big, and it sets apart, I think, the pro footballers. When you see them and the way they carry themselves, they are all very confident people. And worst case scenario, they're blagging it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't look like they're blagging it. It looks genuine. So
you've got to think you're the best to be the best.
Oh God, yeah. You've got to show everyone else that you have got it, irrelevant of what they think, and it works, and it does have an effect. And you can go and play any 5-a-side pitch around the country, and if a team rock up and they're swaggering around, knocking the ball around in a little kick around before you start, you're all turning to each other, going, "Oh God, we're going to get dicked here." From my point of view, I look around. If I'm playing, I look around and go, God, they're young. I'm going to need to rest every 5 minutes.
Age isn't everything. You should see me on a 5-a-side football pitch.
Oh, no.
I'm good in 2-minute intervals.
I've worked on my theory. I've got, before lockdown, I had a 2-meter radius. Anything within that 2 meters, I was still quality.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, during lockdown, that's become maybe a 1.5 meter radius. Yeah. I'm a broken man.
You're not the only one. Not the only one.
Brilliant. Okay, so moving on, number 5, the big 5. So, Tom, what do you feel are the key attributes that would make the complete footballer? So we're not essentially looking for a specific position. We are looking at the key things, the 5 things that if you give them to any one person, they have got the grounding to become the great.
This is such a good question, isn't it? Because this is this is what defines a world-class footballer, isn't it? And you've got that age-old argument of world-class versus form. It's such a good question. I think number one would be not necessarily in this order, I guess, but my first one would be intelligence, or decision making, if that comes into the same thing.
Decision making. Yeah,
you know, it's all well and good being able to pass the ball, shoot, tackle, jump, whatever. But if you're not doing it at the right time, if you haven't got the spatial awareness to find the gaps, to plot the right running routes, the ability to time your pass, to time your run, if you haven't got that, then you're just going to be a skillful player who no one wants to pass to, or no one's going to be able to pass to.
Yeah.
So that would be number one, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, decision making. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Number two, mindset. I guess touching again on that confidence, but more, I guess, being able to master the mental game. I know it's not football, but I play golf, and golf is the worst sport in the world, because if I hit a bad shot, that's the rest of my round over, and I can't play it anymore. And that's why I would never be a professional footballer. So if you can't do it on the big stage, then you're never going to be a complete footballer. You're never going to be world class. And we've seen it so many times. I mean, penalties are a cracking example of people bottling it. At the right time. And the example I'd written up beforehand, because it probably sounds a bit daft to a lot of people. It might be overstating it slightly, but one of my favourite ever goals, it's a bit ridiculous, but it's Ronaldo's penalty against Juventus. This is going back 3 years ago, Champions League quarterfinal.
For Real still, yeah.
Yeah, when he was still at Real. Yeah. It's definitely not a foul. It's definitely not a penalty. Buffon goes and shouts at the referee, gets sent off. Ronaldo's got the ball in his hands for about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
In front of 80,000 people, tens of millions on the TV. It's quarterfinal. You know, biggest club competition in the world. And then he just goes and absolutely wellies it in the top right-hand corner. That is one of the best goals I've ever seen. And I will stand by that, because there's probably 0.01% of people who could do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely guarantee you.
It is that pressure moment, isn't it? It's that pressure moment. Yeah. And it's, it goes back from an England point of view. It goes back to the Beckham free kick against Greece to get us to qualify. You know, it's the last kick of a game. Nothing has gone right for you in the whole game. And you're 25 yards out, and this is your territory, and now it's your chance to show it. Yeah. And there's that Greaser there trying to kick the spot away. They're trying to do this, and you're trying to shout at him, put him off. And he just, brilliant free kick, swings it away from the goalkeeper. And it is, as you say, it is one of those things where it is that composure, that mental state to just keep everything together and not panic.
You can show me 50 goals all scored from 30 yards out. I mean, I can do that. Definitely not to the same degree that they can. But if you give me a football and I kick it 100 times, a couple of them might go in.
Yeah.
I would never be able to do what Ronaldo did, or never be able to do what Beckham did. I don't care that it's 12 yards.
Yeah. No,
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'd scuff it. I'd cry.
Kick the floor, fall over, pulled calf.
Feign injury, add minutes on.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we got the decision, we got the mindset. Number 3.
It's probably a broad one, but technique. Yeah. But more so, I guess the most important part of that is your first touch.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what separates pro from amateur, and I think it's what separates world class from pro. You know, each level, having that ability to not only control the football, because you look at the speed that Premier League footballers, or footballers across the world pass it at, to then trap the ball instantly is so much faster than your lower leagues, and so much faster than you and I would be on the six-a-side pitch. And then to trap it instantly, and then if you look at the players like Messi, Maradona, Pele, Hatem Ben Arfa, they're all,
the legends of the game. Yeah,
they're all very good at dribbling with the ball from their own half. The ball just sticks to them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know that.
That first touch as well isn't always about just pulling it in, is it? It's getting it out of your feet. So it's knowing how much to put on it. So you're your second tackle or your second touch isn't a tackle. It's another pass or a shot.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. So that's absolutely key.
Yeah, I like that. First touch is a good one. Yeah, technique and first touch is key, I think, because if you can't control the ball, how you do it?
Agreed. Should we take 5 seconds to talk about that Hatem Ben Arfa goal against Bolton?
You can take 5 seconds to talk about the Hatem Ben Arfa goal against Bolton.
No, that's all right. That's enough time on that.
The thing is, though, nowadays people will watch that and go, "Yeah, but I could score against Bolton."
yeah. Let's rewind. That doesn't count.
Brilliant. Okay, so first touch is there. Okay, number 4.
Teamwork. Obvious.
Okay, yeah.
Obvious. You probably had that for everyone, but it's
No,
obvious. If you've got a selfish player, they're not world class. And I was trying to think of a good example without offending listeners. But I guess if you look at this season and take Harry Kane as an example, I think this is Harry Kane's best ever season. He's not scored as many goals as he did, when he banged in 30.
Yeah.
But was it 23 goals?
Yeah, he finished top scorer. Yeah, with 23.
But he was top of the assists as well.
He was up there. Yeah, definitely right at that.
Yeah. Well, he was. He was the top playmaker as well. And I think only Henry had done that previously in the Premier League era. Sorry. And I think that's Harry Kane's best ever season, because for me, it doesn't matter if you score. Okay, fair enough. You're going to score lots of goals. It's great to have a striker who's going to score 30 goals. But if you've got that ability to set up goals and play as a team as well, I think that makes a huge difference over being a great player and a complete player.
Yeah.
And the counter thing I was trying to think of, it's probably a poor example, but if you look at Mo Salah from the last few seasons when Liverpool were playing really well, he was getting double figures on assists and double figures on goals.
Yeah.
And then this season, fair enough, he scored a lot of goals. Liverpool haven't played very well. I think he's got 5 assists or 4 assists, which for a player of his caliber and how many goals Liverpool score is really poor. And I actually find Salah a really selfish player. And I think that's probably been a big contribution to how Liverpool have been poor in their front three, is they haven't played well as a front three.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying there is right, because I think you look across the last few years, Firmino's been kind of hit and miss on the goal front, but he is so key to the way they play. But Mane and Salah have both been comfortably in the double figures for goals and assists. And Firmino's been normally the 10, 11. He had that one really good season, but 10 or 11 goals and then similar amount of assists where he's playing people in. And this season, it's just not there. And there's been talk of the spats with Salah and Mane and things like that. And they've had lots of injuries, but it shows. It definitely shows that unless they're on top form, they're all out for themselves. And it's funny that you say about Harry Kane, because he's done that in arguably Spurs' worst season while he's been playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, the guy's justified in asking for a transfer because he's done everything he can.
Absolutely. It's his best ever. I think it's his best ever season. I know that you, obviously, as a Spurs fan, you'd wanted him to score more goals maybe, but not when you've got him assisting whatever it was, 14, 15, mostly to Son.
But
I think that's his best ever season, and he should rightfully go and join a Man City or a Man United or wherever he's going to end up, because what more can he give to Tottenham? This season he's given absolutely everything. You can't, and I think that was sort of seen, I guess, from the Tottenham fans on the last game of the season when they all stayed and they all clapped him, they're cheering his name or whatever. I mean, I'm not a Spurs fan, but I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of all Spurs fans, but I would, if he was in a Newcastle shirt, I would be cheering him on. Go and get a transfer. You've earned it. Go and win a trophy.
And I think, as you say, I think that was a massive, just an appreciation of what he'd done for them. And at the end of the day, Spurs fans aren't the biggest fans of Daniel Levy. So at the end, where they're never going to blame Harry Kane for leaving. They'll blame Daniel Levy, and they'll blame whatever else is around the club. So Harry Kane is fairly safe. It was a little bit like when Shearer went back to manage Newcastle. It didn't matter what happened. If he kept him up, he was even higher up in the God status. And if they went down, they were already going down. And fair play, you're still a God because you came in and helped us.
Yeah,
he was in a no-lose situation. And Harry Kane's in a similar sort of boat now, I think. If he leaves and goes to Man City, Spurs fans are not going to think any less of him. Well, some will, but some people are really bizarre.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you can criticise him at all.
That'd be the Mo Salahs of the Spurs supporter club.
God, I think Man City would be unstoppable at that point.
Oh, well, Sergio Aguero going, I can't think of anyone better to replace him than Harry Kane.
Agreed.
So, number 5. So we've got decision, mindset, first touch, teamwork.
Consistency.
Ooh, consistency.
Because, I mean, I think it's a controversial topic, form versus class. But form's temporary and class is permanent.
Yeah.
And if you're not consistent, I don't see how you can be a complete player or you can be a world-class player, because otherwise you might as well just go and call Jesse Lingard a world-class player and put him in the Barcelona team because he played 8 good games in a row. It doesn't make him a complete player. But if you go and do something 20 seasons in a row,
yeah,
controversial, maybe. Controversial.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, does that make Joe Willock a world-class player?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The thing is Arsenal won't let go of him, and he'll go back to Arsenal, maybe get 10 minutes, and he'll probably be naff.
Yeah, he'll sit on the bench. Yeah, he won't score again because they'll play him as a defensive midfielder. And yeah. No, I agree. I think consistency. Yeah, I mean that the class over form is definitely a big thing. I think when it comes, so based on that, when it comes to picking international squads, do you think they should still then be picking someone who has been out of form for the season because you know how well they've done previously and actually you know that they're a good player? Or do you think, do you know what? And I'm going to use the prime example here of Trent Alexander not being great this season. Kieran Trippier's just won the La Liga. Wan-Bissaka has just finished second with a relatively average Man United team. Carl Walker's just won another title. But out of all of them, Trent is probably, when you look at it, he's probably the most complete fullback. Would you leave him out?
I knew you were going to ask me this question.
Yeah, no. But it's intriguing, and it's and I go with the class over form to an extent. And I think the problem always comes when you have England managers go, I'm going to pick players on form, and then they don't. They pick all the players that are playing on a regular basis.
Yeah. So
from your point of view, that was it. It was just to get an understanding what you think in that situation.
I guess that's why I'm not England manager, because it's a hard job. It's such a good question. I don't know the exact answer because I don't know who I would pick at right back at the moment.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess it depends if the player is on poor form.
Yeah.
Like Joe Hart was for so long and we still kept on picking him.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be picking him because that's pointless. You're just hanging a man out to dry.
Yeah.
But with Trent's example, obviously he goes in the squad. He has to. He's a quality player.
Yeah.
Would I start him? Probably not, I guess, because the team as a whole, Liverpool, have been poor. He has been poor in games. So no, I wouldn't pick him. But someone like maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe Henderson or something. I don't think he's been poor per se.
He's not played. He's only just come back from injury.
I guess he's only come back from injury. That's probably a poor example. I'm trying to think of someone who's been average. I would still put them in the team, particularly if they've played in an England shirt before. I'm not going to put Joe Willock in an England shirt because he scored 7 in 7, although we love it. 12th place. Thank you very much, Joe.
Exactly. Yeah. Doug, well, you love it. He's dug Steve Bruce out, so Steve Bruce has got another season. How much do you love it? Steve
Bruce is a lucky boy, that's for sure.
That's his best transfer ever.
We'll be here for an hour. No comment. Sorry, Steve. But no, I wouldn't put him in an England shirt because would he fit into the England squad just because he's on form? No, he's used to playing with the Newcastle players and being a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Stick him in an England shirt, and I would love it if he scored. It would be amazing, and I would eat my hat, obviously, and I would eat my own words. But I would be surprised if that kind of example, you give him a game and they then carry the form on. I would be surprised on the international stage.
No, that's fair enough. Cool. Okay, so 5 from the 5, we've got decision making. We've got first touch and technique. We've got teamwork. Got to work together. Got to work together. Mindset and that mental toughness. We've then also got consistency. So, I mean, we're saying there that you've got to be able to do it over a long period of time. Your Messis, your Ronaldos, to an extent, your Neymars. He's consistently delivered. Admittedly, he's doing it in a Mickey Mouse league, but he's consistently delivered. Harry Kane is another one who's consistently delivered season on season. So it makes sense. It definitely makes sense, that consistency. If you want to build a team and you want a player who's going to perform, you don't want your old school wingers who play 3 decent seasons and then you never really see them again, or they're in the team because they played well 3 years ago.
Yeah, agreed.
I like it. Tom, it has been a pleasure. As we said, guys, you will be able to find Tom. The link is below. Go listen to him. If you listen to normal genres of music, go listen to Tom, because when he does it, it doesn't sound like the song you know. Not because he's bad, because he's good. And he changes it.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. I said that, and then I suddenly thought, hold on. I sing songs and they don't sound like the original, but that's not what I'm getting at. Go listen, go give him a listen, guys. Very, very good musician. Does a lot of songs. And if you like your Radiohead and that sort of thing, there's a lot of vibe around the Radiohead. And if you like the Disney, go along. You might get yourself some Mickey Mouses. For now, though, guys, been a pleasure, Tom. We will catch you very soon. We'll go back to Lifetime.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for having me.